Welcome to the live stream. Today is February 10th, 2023, and I got a new pair of headphones. Just got them in today. Monitor headphones for video to actually get a better understanding of the sound on the video. Not sure how much I like these though. The headphones that I had before were an open back headphone, and so on these, I'm hearing more of my self-talking than anything. Anyway, not that important. So I have my Gumroad page up for traditional to digital, and I just wanted to show this because today we're on day 50, I believe, or 40. No, today 40. Day 40 for traditional to digital. For $5, if you use the half off coupon, CB50 off, you can get every single day. I throw up at least the Krita document that I've been working on every day. Tons of content. Right now it's up to 35. Every weekend I'll upload the latest batch. So we'll be up to 42 when I upload again. Yeah. Crazy good deal in my opinion, but of course I'm the sell person. I'm the person selling it, so there you go. So enough of that. Let's get into it. Having a lot of fun with this tiger today. Yeah, lots of fun. Yeah, this is... Well, I'll get used to it. I'll get used to it for this stream, but I'm finding this really distracting with these new headphones. I think what I'm going to do, let me mute and I'll be right back. I'm going to switch out to the other headphones. Be right back. All right, yeah, that's much better. I may have to return those headphones, I'm not sure. The headphones I have on are really great for doing what I'm doing here, but those other headphones are gonna, and I actually need to test them out on my next video that I edit as far as the sound is concerned. But I'm pretty sure that those will be really good for monitoring audio levels. You wouldn't believe how important it is to get the audio right on these videos. I mean, it's almost even more important than the video in a lot of cases. All right, so on to the tiger. Yesterday, I ended this session with adding in a lot of really crazy color, and it looks so good. I'm loving this. I'm really loving it. So I'm alternating between kind of really broad strokes everywhere and then detail. I'm going to work on a little bit more detail today with this left eye, and let me back out just a little bit. I really like all the texture that we built up in the eye previously, and I'm using this brush. This is like right out of the box almost. So this is the brush that is right out of the box for Krita, which, as I think about it, I'm going to remove this from my favorites because I get confused to which is which because they have the same icon. This one I just adjusted a little bit. It's the same one. I called it Chris Drawing, but it comes in a bit smaller each time than the other one. So just a smaller size, like 5 pixels rather than what the other one was. I'm learning more and more that, brush really doesn't matter. Am I on the right layer? I am on the correct layer. Let's go full screen. Let's work it on full screen. Yeah, brushes, guess they matter to an extent. And yesterday, you asked a question, Thinker. By the way, good morning. Sorry, I've been focusing all on my stuff this morning. Apologize. Yesterday we were talking about how... Ooh, I remember. We're not doing full screen. We're doing this. Perfect. Okay. We were talking about how to, like, different ways to get texture into a painting, like especially a digital painting in particular. Or maybe you asked about oil painting, like how do you get texture in your oil paintings? Well, we'll see that in the future, because I'm honestly going to probably try out some different painting techniques to try and get different texture. But the one thing that I have kind of figured out and learned within, at least the digital hemisphere of art is that we, like a lot of times you get texture from the particular brush you pick. So if you're picking, because I have several brushes in here, you can pick some brushes that have just a ton of texture to them that lend themselves better to textural qualities, really. And that's another way of doing it. Because I was thinking more about layers, especially in oil paint and stuff like that, of how to build up texture. Smaller brushes, do you have to get that detailed? And I would still say yes, you have to get that detailed, but achieving that detail in different ways. So within digital and traditional to a sense, if all the detail is already built into the brush, you can achieve it right away. What do I mean by that? If I right click and I pick this brush, there's, instead of one stroke, of detail. Well, I'm doing one stroke, but it's adding in like 10 or 11 different strokes, right? So that's one way of doing it. You can do the same thing. I'm trying to get that gray out of there. You can do the same thing within oil. You get a brush that is kind of hairy, old, splayed. And with every single stroke, you get kind of multiple strokes happening. Another way to get texture. The one reason why I like kind of working up texture in this way, where we're doing each individual stroke, is there's a greater level of control here that happens. Some subtlety can be achieved in a lot of different ways. Excuse me. So that's what we're doing here, is we're just working this up with a lot more texture. Always thinking about the light and the form. How the light traverses across the form. Especially with our lighting setup that we have. which is different than any other reference. I keep saying that. I repeat a lot because I don't know when people are going to be coming into these videos. Like every video I create is a new door for anybody to enter into. It's kind of like on TV shows. Where we last left off was, you know, the cliffhanger. Not much cliffhangers here. I'm still in the habit, you know, even though I'm in digital right now, I still have this habit where I lean back and I look at things. You know, because that's part of the traditional process. You know, you can't zoom out of your oil painting that's right in front of you. What you do is you lean back, you can even look into a mirror. Like you turn around and face the mirror. Like you look away from your painting and look into the mirror. That's a really good way of kind of, you know, getting away from the painting. I found that the best way, if you're doing an oil painting, or any kind of painting really, now in the digital age, to get that separation from what you're painting. And anybody that's painted for a while understands this, where you get deep into your artwork, you know, digital or otherwise, and there's so much that you don't see anymore. You get so kind of caught up into it. It's an interesting phenomenon. I need to read on it and see what other people say about it, because there's some language in there that I lack as far as describing it well. But basically, you're looking at your piece and you can't see the forest for the trees, kind of thing. And then eventually you step away from your art for a few days or something, or a week, or you do something, and then all this realization hits you. You're like, holy cow, I didn't see that. It was just, what you'll see is people say they're too close to it, but not close in the sense of distance, close in the sense of attention, really. And what'll happen is that you're kind of blinded to any of the issues and problems. You know, within digital, you just zoom way out, and you can see that. Zoom way out and mirror right away. And you can see some things come out that you didn't notice before. The best way I've found to kind of remove yourself from your artwork is to snap a quick photo of it on your cell phone. Especially that small screen. It's like, you know, they use these wide angle lenses. It's like getting really far away from your painting. And there's something about, you know, the digital or the traditional art, like an oil painting or something. When you snap a photo of it, it pulls it out of reality. And then like a million little things will jump out at you, and you're like, holy cow, I never saw any of that. I can't believe I didn't see that. I like the idea, and I loved seeing this in paintings, especially in galleries. We saw a painting by Clyde Aspavag, landscape painter. We went to Tacoma Art Museum here in Tacoma, Washington, and there's maybe it's still up right now. Clyde Aspavag painting, and what was great about it is you're right next to the painting, and everything just looks like these big swatches of color, like clearly separated and awesome. And then you stand back, and like this image is revealed. I am not doing that here. And like if Clyde saw this, he would say, "No, what you want to do is grab one of these big crazy brushes and just, you know, hit the color like you would hit it, bam, bam, do this kind of thing, like kind of block everything in, and then when you zoom out, it would all resolve in some way." But no, not doing that right now. I like looking at things that look tremendously realistic, and then as you get, kind of, it's inviting at first. It's impactful. It has some kind of interest, in the painting. You're like, whoa, that looks amazing in some way. And then as you delve further into it, you get closer to the work, literally, physically closer to the work, you see, oh, wow, look at all this texture and detail and craziness that the person has put into the work. I like that. I'm to a point now in this painting where I'm not even picking colors from the reference imagery. Have you seen Andrew Tischler's art? Yes, I was just looking at one of his painting tutorials today on YouTube. And I got a really, a new understanding because I'm editing a video for a nose tutorial that I'm about to put out hopefully this weekend or by Tuesday next week. Tuesday's kind of like the day that I like to hit, but I was wondering, okay, well, he's got a bunch of tutorials and they're, on his website and Gumroad and all that kind of stuff, or wherever he sells them. And how does he do it? Because, this guy's, full-time artist making a lot of money and amazing art, right? So that's why I was looking at his videos. But I have this kind of understanding of crazy detail within his work, like almost too detailed. You see these huge landscapes that he does or has done. But when you get into them, you do see this kind of deep texture within them. So a better understanding of his art today, which was really nice. All right, let's move back to this brush for a bit. I'm doing that for, I really like how this brush kind of displays the hair or gets that texture of, the hair, especially when it comes out of the head and goes, into, okay, how am I going to describe this? Where it comes out of the head and into this kind of flowing stripes, right? Or not stripes, but flowing kind of section. This brush seems to do that really well. Taking a lot of coloration, a lot of colors from what I did on the right side. I'm going to repeat it here. Yeah, I really like Andrew Tischler's work. I hope one day to be able to achieve what he's achieved, I believe he started on YouTube, years and years ago. just trying to help other artists, be better, be better himself, and to help others, get better. But I want to believe that I can achieve that as well. I think the important part is for me to find, to do good work, basically. To do the best work that I can. And I have to believe that people will respond to that. A lot more white hair in the ears of the older tigers, reference lower right ref. Yeah, true. I need to capture that, right? Let's work up to it. We've talked about style several times before, and more I get this kind of understanding of what style is. The sense of, actually, that's what it is. It's a greater sense of self within your artwork. Style isn't this thing that you well, it is something you do, but it's not something that you come up with. It's not something you say, oh, well, this is my style. I'm going to choose to do this. I don't know if I'm explaining that right. Yeah, I keep forgetting to stop my upload. I just stopped the upload. So if you have buffering right now, it should fix itself in a moment, because I got an upload that was happening. Sorry about that. Should put my phone in do not disturb as well. I really need to write all this down, like the pre-stream procedures, to get everything right. But style, okay. There's this overly, I guess, too much focus on style, in my opinion. But style in reality is just learning your preferences and having a greater sense of self. That's what style is. Style is saying, yeah, that person's art is amazing, but this is what I really like to do. This is what gives me joy, regardless if anyone hates it. Okay, there's this stripe right here that's connected that I don't like. I'm going to deal with this real quick. I'm going to change how this functions, or what the way it flows. Let's go back to that bigger brush. Thinker says, it's fascinating to me that really observing the stripes on the tigers are not quite symmetrical. Nature's perfect imperfection. Yes, exactly. Reminds me of Alan Watt. He's at one point I was listening to one of his lectures, and he was talking about nature itself and how imperfectly perfect it is. and how at certain points during like the French aristocracy, right? And even today, you go to like Versailles and all these like wonderfully huge, crazy like cathedrals or whatever, or homes, and they have these amazing yards of flowers and stuff, and it's just, everything is perfectly spaced out, and they make sure that all the tulips are facing the right way. Like overly pampered, right? The the control of nature that we want to do, and it looks mechanical at that point. Like, oh my goodness, and then we do it today. If you have a home, you have to buy the lawnmower. You have to have the lawn, which is really bad for the environment. You have to mow the yard. It has to look a certain way. You have to then get the leaf blower to blow the leaves. And I hear so many people, they're like, oh, these darn leaves. Yeah, I love living out in the country, but man, all these leaves everywhere. It's like perfect manicured stuff, right? We do all these things to try and make it look different than what it is, and get away from that perfect imperfection. I think, what did he said? Would you prefer that the stars formed fours rather than this randomness, like they made perfect constellations? This whole idea that we have to sit here and make sense of everything. Okay, let's get back to just talking about the tiger. So yeah, these ears really need some more of these tufts of hair. Now what I'm going to do is I won't start with this with white straight out of, like straight out of the tube. I'm not going to start with white. What I'll do is actually get a bit darker in here. We'll start with these darker colors, right? Build up all these kind of really dark colors, values. Get it really hairy looking. Because I'm trying to build in, if I lighten this up. So here's the cone of the ear, right? And if you look on all of these, at least, especially, this tiger here, the top tiger, you'll see that there's this kind of curve into the cone of the ear. I mean, it goes into a void, basically, into the ear hole. So I'm trying to illustrate that curve through value. So now that I have, those darker colors in place, I'll start building up a little bit lighter at a time. See where that's at. Okay, that's a bit lighter. So we get a few of these in there. One of these long hairs. And then build the value up a little bit more. Keep it random, right? If you're constantly doing hairs and everything's kind of separated, then do, observe, go back to observation and see that, there's a tuft that's kind of multiple hairs grouped together in one. Then they go in different directions. They're kind of all over the place. Not kind of, they are all over the place. And then I can bring this black like up into here. The observation is so important. There's a tendency to focus on rules a lot in art. Again, it's kind of like the nature thing we were talking about, that, how can I control this? I need to apply some set of rules to what I'm doing here so I can gain understanding. That's perfectly fine. I mean, that's what we try to do at the beginning. But I would say, you know, don't grasp as hard, kind of let go, right? The first thing you'll run into when you're trying to paint or draw the human head or the human body is this canon of proportions, this generalized proportions that happen. And, you know, usually it's a white person, you know, that they're using for proportions, right? And it's kind of like, oh, okay, well, this does not transfer well to anything else, right? And yeah, if you have the person standing at attention right in front of you, completely square on, then those proportions would work perfectly. You could use them just exactly there to get your generalized mannequin type shape, right? But observation is where it's all at, where the most important part of this is. It's good to start with those proportions, but continue with the understanding that these are just basic generalizations that are a starting point. In order to get the individuality of any person or thing that you are painting or drawing, building up those observation skills are key. Let's see what that ear looks like. Yeah, much better. I could probably bring in a little bit more of this value. A little bit lighter. I'm learning more and more to stop picking color and utilizing that too much. Because honestly, the color picker is not that great. The only color picker that I have seen to be really good, and I haven't done a ton of work with it, was the wet brush in Photoshop, or what do they call it? I forget what they call it in Photoshop. But it takes like a generalized sample of an area. Actually, it takes almost like a photo of it. Like if I did a sample of this eye, you could, like, all those colors would be in your brush strokes. Pretty interesting. Like the greens and everything. Krita will get better though. As long as people keep supporting it. Lightening it up over here. Because now I'm looking more at our older tiger. Let's intensify this orange a bit and darken it. And we need to do the same thing with the other ear. Are there any tool options available for the color picker? Yeah. So, oops, let me get out of this view. And the color picker is right here, actually. It's, well, color sample tool, so P. And you can sample all of your colors. Let's go back to the advanced color picker. You can increase the radius of it, the sample radius. Can I just drag? Oh, I can't drag. Interesting. Okay. And maybe that would help you or help us. So it's taking a 20 pixel sample of this area. Now the question is, if I'm on B and I hold control, is that using the same tool? I think it might. I think it is. The other options that you see there are sample all visible layers. So you could just say sample the current layer. I always wanted to keep it on all visible layers. Now, if I uncheck update color, I can make a sample, but it doesn't update over there, which I'm not certain why that would be useful. I thought I muted that. Maybe I didn't. Sorry. So what does it say here? Controls whether the color sampler updates the current foreground or not. Oh, updates the current foreground color. Yeah, I feel like I would want to do that all the time. So let's keep it at 30. The blend, though. What is the blend? Blending controls the percentage of color that is sampled and mixed with your current brush color. A full blending value samples color completely ignoring the brush color. Oh, okay. So what that means, basically, if I'm in this purple, like this, let's say that I have, let me just make a crazy purple. And then if I have this at 50%, and I hit the sample of the green, it's going to look at kind of a blend of 50% green and 50% this purple. And wow, it's still crazy purple. And then I keep hitting it. It'll probably get closer and closer and closer and closer to the green that I have. Yeah. If I go down to 0, that wouldn't change anything now, would it? Let's see, go back to purple, sample, sample, sample. Yeah, it won't do anything. If I change it to 3, I would have to hit this like a million times to get it to that green. So let's keep it at 100, so I go directly to what I want to sample. Show colors as percentages. Oh, that's just, so that's it. That's all the options you have for that. I'm going to keep it at 30. Let's see if our samples are better. Our color samples are any good. Let's see, right there. What do I got? Yeah, not too bad. But as of right now, I'm gonna probably always try and refer to, this, my own adjustments. Not only is that, it gives you a better realization of color, a better idea. If you're because we're going to be going into traditional. Can't do all this fancy stuff in traditional. You're always going to be needing to utilize your understanding of color, making those determinations, which is really important. I can go back to black, but I don't want that kind of, well, maybe I do want this kind of magenta, purpley color. Let's see. Yeah, that's fine. Now I want it more orange. Orangey yellow. One of the things that I run into a lot with traditional oil painting is the need to neutralize all the time. And it's actually a really good, practice to get into in digital, is to use your color palette, which one that is, because they have a ton of them, and find out how you would neutralize something. Because obviously when you're oil painting, you don't, mean, here, this is, you know, a color palette. And how am I going to explain this? Well, with an oil painting, the go-to when you start out is let's just add black to everything. So you go, oh, neutralize it with black, neutralize it with black. That's the best way to really kill a color, honestly, to really kind of deaden it, making your painting really lifeless, kind of muddy in a lot of ways, when you can utilize color in so many more beneficial ways. And I mean, the color picker is really going to be telling you how to do that, honestly. I'm going to, okay, this is as gray as it can get. I'm going to lighten up in here. And then we'll get an example of neutralization happening. So let's say I start with this really kind of orange color, okay? And what I want to do is this area that I'm working in, can't really see what's going on there, but this area, I want to make it lighter and closer to gray. So in oil paint, if I have this darkish orange on my palette, this thing right here, and I want to make it lighter and closer to gray, what would you add to this? The first understanding is knowing that that's an orange, right? And to neutralize orange, you would go into whatever its opposite is on the other side of the color wheel. So here's our color wheel. Let's make this larger. Nice and big color wheel. So I'm here on orange, you just pass directly through the center. And so anything over here would neutralize that to mix it in. Within light, within, you know, digital, you move it closer to that color. Or, well, essentially you always move it closer to the center. That's adding in more gray. Anything closer to center is gray. As far as paint mixtures, you would, you know, it doesn't get neither lighter nor darker in the center in a color wheel. It depends on what colors on the other side that you mix it with. So if I have an orange and I mix it with a blue, depending on the blue, it could get darker and more. It will definitely go gray, but you'll also change a value to it as well. So you have to think, oh, okay, can I do this all at once? Do I have a light blue on my palette? No, I don't. Okay, so let's add blue and a little bit of white to this orange to gray it out. That's easy to do here because I just move it closer to the center and it will gray it out, right? So we're getting grayer with that color, but then up here, I would lighten it up. And then we can do, let me switch brushes. We can do this hair, these hairs here, lighter and grayer. Let's bring in a little bit more saturation in that. Let's go closer to yellow. Okay. I like how the base of a lot of these, like if we look at this reference here, when you look at this stripe, it's dark, 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 and then it feeds out into this kind of rich, these rich tones, and then goes into more of a yellow and then kind of a white tone. You see that repeated everywhere. So if I did that, no, come on, right click. Oh, my palette's not coming up. Maybe I have to be on B. That's what it is. If I wanted to do that here, I would go for an intense color. Let's say an intense orange. No, a bit more orange. Lighten it up just a little bit. And then add that in places. Here, although we need more of that stripe to come up here, so get darker with it. Even darker. Yeah. Then we can get up into these intense colors a bit further out. And then go closer to yellow. Ooh, it needs to be lighter. Wow, much lighter. Okay, accidentally hitting the wrong button on my pen is really annoying. It's a very subtle thing, this is. It's somewhat there. How does that look? Let's back up. That's looking really good. Still looking good. Now, the further I move away from this head... Wow, see, that's nowhere near what I wanted when I try and select this. You see, like, I'm trying to select this white area, and it's giving me a gray. All right, let's go back to our tools. Yeah, that's closer. Maybe 30 was too much. Let's go up to 10. Ten's pretty good. Let's try it in a couple places. So what I'm trying is to see how I can change this color picker so it's more accurate to what I'm trying to pick. That's a bit darker than it should be. That got it. Okay. I think that works. Right at 5 pixels is what I had it set to. Oh, and I wish my color picker didn't get smaller every single time. To figure out how to save that. All right, let's move down into the muzzle. There's a bunch of strangeness going on up here with these stripes, but I'm going to try and leave it, I think. I don't think they're that important, and they're not distracting enough to warrant me to spend more time on it. Okay. I'm going to switch this brush so the scatter is on. And it's going to be down around 30. Is this the brush that we want with that? Can't remember the brush that we used. Ah, that's right. It was this one. This guy. And then we turn on scatter. Strength down to about 25%. And that gives us the right texture that we want for this nose, because it's very short hairs. I'm going to keep this simple because what happened before was it kind of obliterated the flow of the form when I was getting too detailed, and I want to make sure that I don't do that. I'm looking more at the older tiger on the bottom right now for this nose. What's interesting is as I'm picking these colors, I'm finding that subtle movements within my color picker is not changing much. And that what I'm needing to do is to make these huge changes within it. Or what I feel like is huge. Another hyper-realistic painter is Michael James Smith. James Smith. I'm not familiar with that person's work at all. And honestly, I don't like hyper-realism. And as I say that, I'm wondering, am I doing hyper-realism? And no, actually, I know what hyper-realism is. Hyper-realism is when you take a photo, a tremendously large photo, like super high detailed photo, and you basically repeat that photo on the canvas to the nth degree. Takes a lot of effort and time to do something like that. Oh, he does landscapes. Oh, wow. There's got to be a ton going on in that. So this is not hyperrealism. What hyperrealism would look like is that. They'd be like, wow, that is a photo. I can't believe you've done that. And there's a lot to be commended with that. Like, oh my gosh, the time and effort, the observation skills, the understanding of color, the patience, all this stuff. But the argument against it that I have is, why not just print out the photo on a canvas, right? Why not? I need to really have a conversation with a hyper-realistic painter, and say, why don't you just print that out? It takes, it's a lot faster and easier, right? Take a really good photo. And I'm pretty sure that they will have some really good reasoning of why. I hope, why it's important to them. I know I've gotten those comments before. It looks just like a picture. it's kind of an indication to me that I've gone too detailed. Probably exactly what I'm doing right now. Getting too detailed. All right, let's bring it back away from the detail into, you know, it's interesting, these little black marks that are right here in the older tiger. They're like dimples. It's actually really cool. I'm going to put those in there. In a lot of instances, I feel that, you know, copying from the photo is a skill. Yes, it's the beginning of a skill that you develop. And it takes time and effort. But in the end, it's the beginning. Oh, well, I should probably state that a little bit differently. That is the beginning of the process. The real skill is correctly generalizing, getting an impression of work. Thinker, you've talked a lot about how digital painting can inform your traditional painting. What about digital does not inform your traditional? Ooh, that's a really good question. How does it not work or not help? How does it hinder? How could this hinder my digital or my traditional work? Giving it some thought here. There's two aspects that come to mind that I fear with digital versus traditional, and where digital I feel could be detrimental to your traditional work. And actually, no, it's not really detrimental to your work, but detrimental to your thought process. And the first one is patience. There are a lot of tools digitally that you can use that really help out things, that prevent, that allow you to make a lot of mistakes with not a lot of repercussion. It's forgiving in a lot of ways, and getting used to that forgiveness. It can be hard to transition back into a traditional realm with that. You don't have Control Z on an oil painting. What it leads to is kind of a lack of planning in some ways. So in an oil painting, or any acrylic or whatever, so if you're going through a large painting project, there should be a lot of planning, to help facilitate what you're going to do, and prevent a lot of redo. The design process that we started with this painting will help with that tremendously. Check out the links in the description below. Oh, my bad. Plug. What's the other thing I was going to say? Especially with oil painting and other paints, you're not dealing with surface as much on digital. What do I mean by that? Digital paints don't have a surface to them. They don't reflect light. their surface is transparent. The light comes through what you're doing, right? It's backlit. And you can quickly get impatient and upset with how glare happens on oil painting, acrylic painting, every kind of painting out there. You deal with glossiness versus matte. You deal with real texture, shadows being cast off of, paint layers. These kind of things. And it doesn't really prepare you for that and how to deal with it. Like working on your painting and not really being able to see it because of the glare, and how, understanding how to work around that. So it doesn't prepare you for that kind of understanding. The other thing that it can be a hindrance for and not helpful is this ability to just zoom in and out and flip your canvas. It's like almost everything that's super helpful within oil painting can be detrimental almost everything that is super helpful within digital can be detrimental to how you do oil painting. But if you forget, or you assume that an oil painting should function similarly. Being able to just quickly zoom all the way out, like I'm 30 feet away, and then mirror this guy is super helpful. But, you don't have that in oil or any other painting. You have to be able to step away from it, really make these judgments, see these things without any of these tools that you have here. Layers, oh my goodness. Layers are probably the biggest difference between traditional and digital. Like I've seen challenges that people put up for digital art where they'll say, okay, do a digital piece all on one layer, and everybody's like, oh my gosh, that's so hard, right? You've limited me down to just these few aspects of things that I can use, What if I do it wrong? Can't do these layers. Like, it's tough. And that's what oil painting is. It's all on one layer. I mean, you can wait for it to dry and work up other layers, but okay, are we still... Do we still have a good form for the nose? I think we do, and I don't think I need to go much further into the nose. I mean, the top of the nose, the bridge of the nose at least. Now, what needs some work, we're going to go back to this brush. And what needs some work is the muzzle. These wonderful shapes here of where the whiskers kind of fit in. Perfectly describing the shape of this muzzle here. And obscuring it in some of them too. Gotta be careful with these because these are lines, and if I don't get them right, what you'll do is you'll flatten out things. You have to be careful. So if you look at this tiger right here, and you look at these lines, okay, this one has a perfect kind of curve that gives you an understanding, at least on this side, of the roundness of this form. Flat on the front, then rounds back. Okay, so rounds forward, then kind of flattens out. This one continues to round forward, rounds, and on this side is the same. But then when we get into these two guys, so this stripe and then this stripe, they go in a completely different angle. So they round up. They round up. Where you have to be careful with that is it looks great on a photo because it's natural. And then there's this kind of inherent understanding from anybody that would look at it and would say, would understand right away that that's just the way it is. Okay. But a lot of times when you're painting that illusion or trying to repeat that illusion, it doesn't work. So if I take, let's say I take a line, this one, and I go over the top this way, how that other one does, just similarly. Trying to repeat these. Is that going to flatten out the form? Is what I'm trying to get an understanding with. The first thing I see is that they're too dark, but that's okay. I can lighten those up, no problem. This is where the forgiveness of digital comes in. Oh yeah, I'll just throw that dark down. It's okay. I like lighten it up, no problem. Oil painting? No. You got maybe a bunch of wet color down here and you want to put like a dark over it. Yeah, you better make sure that that value is good, because if you have to scrape that off, you would have to do everything underneath of it again as well. Oh, the foreshortening from the muzzle to the cheek is difficult for me to paint correctly. Yes. Yes. It's almost like it passes beyond your view. And there's a lot of things that, you know, kind of match in with what I'm trying to talk about here, which is not going directly from the photo all the time. So all the ones on the left side look good. So I can do kind of, you know, this shape goes up this way. That's going to easily translate into the roundness that I want. And then this one here, it's got like a subtle curve to it. Then this one is almost straight across almost, but I'm going to add a bit more curve to it. Then we can barely see that one. So you have to think about, you know, how is this going to look in a painting? How is that going to inform the painting? Oh, we need our line there. That's important. And a larger mouth area for the older tiger, which is interesting. It's like things have started to sag on this old guy, old girl, gal. An actual really cool example, me and a friend of mine, this was years and years ago, we were painting a landscape. We wanted to paint something, but we didn't want to go too far, so we just stepped right outside his apartment door, and we set our easels down and we just started painting. We're like, I don't really care what it is. Let's just observe and put it on the canvas. That's all that really matters. Just observing and putting it on the canvas. Well, we got to this point where what we were looking at was the rest of the apartment complex and a road and a bunch of cars. And it was like, oh my gosh, all this detail, you know. Before the end of the painting, we were kind of regretting it because of all the craziness that was there. But one of the things that we talked about a lot was there is this stop sign. that we were observing. And usually when you see a stop sign, it's an octagon, right? It's this thing. And it has stop right in the center and a big stick. And when we were observing the stop sign, it was right on the edge of it. So looking at it right from the exact side. And what did that look like? That was the stop sign. And it was in shadow. And it was this just big dark line. And it was akin to if I had this, let's say we had this tiger painting, right? And in the background over here, we had a sign on the edge, and it was just this. Like a big black stripe. We're like, that doesn't look right. There's no way that we could put that on the canvas. If we did it exactly like it is, people would be like, what's that big black stripe on your canvas? It wouldn't make any sense. But if you take a photo of it, they're probably like, oh, it's a sign or something, I'm sure. So we pulled it out, said, don't do it. So this is part of what I'm talking about as far as trying to describe form. A lot of time, I mean, the photo will help you, but a lot of times it will hinder what you're doing. So you have to grab an understanding first. And from what I've observed so far on, looking at the tigers, is there's a front plane. Starts up here at the nose, okay? And it dips down a bit, goes around to the back. Same on this side, goes around to the back. And here, and then we go down into the chin. And this is all the front plane. Okay, probably not that exact perfect shape. And all of this will be darker. Because if we looked at it from profile, the bridge of the nose comes down. And then this is the muzzle with the chin. And it goes back this way. Maybe you would see a bit of the nose like on that corner. Probably not that extreme. It's probably up like that, the bridge of the nose. But that turn will be, turn all this into shadow. The hard part about it is the curve, like you were talking about, Thinker, from this kind of flat plane here. And if we have to think in planes, it's illustrated really well with the white on the tiger right here. So we have this kind of plane. This is a plane, and I'm curving these really to make it a bit more easy to see. We could break it up into multiple planes. Each of those curves would be broken up. So that's the front plane, and then we start to curve back. So maybe it curves back to here. Let's put in all of that. So we start to curve back. So let's say somewhat flat here, and then we curve up and back. Up and back. I mean, we could go down and back, but just like right here, it kind of goes down and back. But deciding the way that curve is really important. And then I've just kind of hidden it. So everything stops there. So a big kind of stop gap. You can see it on the top tiger example. You can see it on both of them. Even, some of the stripes kind of go up this way, and it gives you this kind of change between foreground, muzzle, and cheek. So we got what I'm calling the eye socket, like the bone of the cheek right here. That's what I'm feeling. I'm kind of anthropomorphizing this a bit because humans will have this kind of big cheek area. It probably flows up a bit like that too. And then all of this goes back into space. So let's take it from the top of the nose. We go up here, we slide down, and then boom, off the edge. You don't see it. Off the edge, you don't see it. If we start up here, we do the same thing. We flow down. We can go up into the cheek, or we just flow directly into the side of the head. You know, it probably changes a little bit right there. It probably goes down a bit further. Here, transition down, down, out, up. Yeah. Let's go. Let's say we have this line here. Okay. It's going to hide back there just a little bit and then come back out a little bit higher. Okay. This S curve, this beautiful S curve, and then flow back. Same thing with this one. Flat, 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 curve back. And then maybe you see this one a bit less. Like if we're thinking through the form, it curves back even further, goes way up here, and then goes back that way. So you have to think about, you know, the back of the head, the back of the muscle. I have to Control Z all of that. Oof, so easy. That was nice. Because I didn't put it on a different layer. Oh, you know, one thing I haven't talked about that I do like religiously right now, because I've kind of been trained this way from tech from years ago, making a bunch of mistakes and losing documents all the time. Always Control S or Command S. Just whatever you're doing, just Control S, Command S all the time. Always do it. Never rely upon the autosave or anything. Be stupid about it. Be like, you know, like almost not every stroke, but working for a little bit, you stop for a second, Control S, but to a point where it's just like a habit that you just do to keep you. Oops, I know what I need to change. Pattern, options, random. Because I want to make sure that you guys don't lose any of your document. Okay, I'm working on, what time is it? Yeah, an hour and 20 minutes into this. That's okay. Today's Friday. I want to make, and I love how I did it in the eyes up here. This older tiger, and both tigers, really, they have this really wonderful shape of white here, right? It's really cool. Not like that. It looks like you have a really bad mustache now, Mr. Tiger person thing. So I'm going to be using some grays and some blues. Let's just go into blue. Ooh, green. I bet you if I pick this, it's going to be a greenish color. Yeah, look at that greenish, grayish cast to it. Let's darken it up a bit, make it a bit more green. Here's something to always remember, because I've said it before. A banana on the lawn at midnight is not yellow. That's going to be our code word. I'm going to try and make it big as an artist and then create this art center, right? And then we'll have some secret artist nights where only artists can join. And it'll be at the back door. This kind of steel door, you know, with a little hole in the front of it. And you come up, you knock on it. And then this little metal latch kind of slides open, like clang. And then all you see is someone's eyes, and they say, "What's the password?" And you say, "A banana on the lawn at midnight is not yellow," and then they'll let you in. Remember that. It's so important. It's the most essential thing for you as an artist to remember. A banana on the lawn at midnight is not yellow. Because it's not. What color is the banana on the lawn at midnight? It's gonna be... It'll be darker. Right? It'll definitely be darker. Barely any light hitting it. I bet you it'll look like a greenish bluish color. Gray, maybe more gray. Like a dark gray. But it's not gonna be yellow. Probably won't even have a hint of yellow. So how that pertains to what I'm doing right now is this is white. The local color of this fur right here is white. Local color is the color of the surface in a general lighting scenario. You know, you shine a flashlight on a banana, it's going to be yellow. You shine a flashlight on a leaf, it's going to be green. Bark, it's going to be brown in a generalized area. But the coloration of the local color of these hairs right here are going to be white. But we are putting ours in shadow, so it's not going to be white. It's going to be like a grayish blue or green, like as we're doing here. Like a darker green. Let's intensify it, see what we get. Nice. And then we back out. We see if that's too light. It's not too bad. I need some variation in these stripes though. They're too uniform for me. There's so much interest in that tiger and the face and all these little bits of dark value that just kind of come out from the nose. Do some weird things. Let's see if we can grab that as much as we can. I love how all of this just blends into this kind of dark nothing right there. Let's switch to this brush. Darker. Going back to the foreshortening of the muzzle to the cheek. There's a perspective course by Marshall Vandroth that's fantastic. It's only like 12 bucks. Probably the best perspective course I've seen. And why is it so good? Because he's able to take very complex ideas and make them easy to understand. It's kind of like that idea where if you really want to learn something and know it well, you have to have the ability to describe it so that a 5-year-old can understand it. And that's the Marshall Vandroth perspective course. It's really good. But one of the things that he says is, you know, for these difficult perspective problems, get it out of perspective, simplify it, and then put it back in perspective. So when you're talking about buildings and things like that, all these straight lines, it's a little bit easier to do, in my opinion. But when you're talking about organic shapes in perspective, it's a bit harder. So my easy way to understand it, or how I like to get it out of perspective per se for understanding, is I will, like I did before, get out this crazy color, this pink color, and do these cross contours to see how things function. Ooh, see, like that didn't work. And this would flow back there. Where would the line go? It'd probably go behind the muzzle and then down like that. Like the muzzle ends there, it would go back and behind and down. So getting that understanding. Excuse me. And we did that with our design process, which is part of the downloads. So if you want the download, see the link in the description. But that design process will help you get a better understanding of form of whatever you're working on. I like to say that that design process, so there's a percentage of success that comes with every painting that you do. Digital, traditional, whatever, it doesn't matter. So when you start out, you have, let's say, a 50% chance. Or no, let's take it back. If you start out a painting, you have like a 20% chance of making a good painting because you have this idea in your head. Maybe even 10%. It's pretty low. And if you stay with that, you say, okay, I'm just going to get to work and just start painting. You have a 10% chance of making that a successful painting. Because what you're doing is you're front loading all of the problems into one. You have to deal with every single issue all at once. And what the design process that I've come up with does is it breaks up that entire process so that you take on each aspect one at a time, get a deeper understanding, and increases that percentage of success. I would say upwards of 50 to 70% in a painting. The X Collective. Hey, welcome. Hi, Chris. Your drive and work are inspiration. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and love of art. Hey, wow. Thank you so much for the compliment. That's fantastic. Yeah, I appreciate it tremendously. I love hearing that. I want to be an inspiration to others and to get them to work and to paint, to can't wait to get started kind of thing. So thank you so much for that. And if you ever need any help, just let me know. You can go to my website, send me a comment. I reply to everyone individually, like personally, with another email. Comment on any of these videos, and like I have 0 comments waiting right now for for me to reply, because I reply to every single one. I love helping people out, especially with art. Love talking about art. So yeah, if there's anything that you need help with, let me know. Man, hopefully I'm not sick. My wife got sick, like a cold, and I've been waiting to get it. I think she's over it now, so it's my turn, I think. This muzzle's looking pretty good. I don't know if you guys think that, but I want to bring in a little bit more light, like maybe a couple of these hairs are getting some of the light from the top. Definitely here on the top of the muzzle where that white is, the local white color. Lots of fun. Will do. And thanks again. Hey, yeah, anytime. I'm here for you. I think, you know what drives me to help people is I've seen so many artist friends that I'll talk to them after a while, and I'm like, hey, you know, what you working on? When's the last time you done some drawing or painting? They're like, you know what? I got out of it for a while, and it's been about 2 years or a few months or whatever. And they're, you know, it's like they feel terrible because they are creators at heart and they just haven't got to it. And I want other artists to never experience that, because I experienced it. I went 5 years without art. Realized that it was such a huge part of my life, and that if I didn't do it, I would regret it the rest of my life. So trying to help prevent others from experiencing that. And if they are experiencing it, cool. It's totally fine. We can get you out of it. Get you back into creating, being a creator, and having a lot of fun doing it. I remember I used to play a lot of video games, like online MMORPGs, and I have to stay away from them now because I have an addictive mentality to them, right? I know that if I got into them again, I'd waste all my time with them. And they are a huge waste of time because they're fun. You know, they get you all those dopamine hits constantly in your brain. But in the end, at the end of the day, you're like, what did I accomplish? You know, really nothing. You know, I had a lot of fun. But that what I loved about the video games is because I couldn't wait to get to them. I was like, oh my gosh, I was like jonesing to play my video game all day long. Just got to get this done, and then I can play my video game. Get that done, and I can play my video game. And then if anyone interrupted my video game time, I would get upset, like, I'm playing my video game, right? And then I thought, man, if I had that kind of drive, if I had that kind of motivation, that kind of excitement for my artwork, I could do anything. I could literally do anything. I would be the best artist on the planet. And, you know, I'm finally getting to a point where I'm really feeling that. Not that I'm the best artist on the planet. No, nowhere near that. But where there's been days when I can't sleep. I can't get, like, man, I can't sleep. I need to get up and do some artwork. I just can't wait to get working on this painting. And I tell you what, man, those feelings are just fantastic. Yeah. It's like this right now. I'm totally blowing up my morning routine more than I should, because this tiger, I think, is looking fan-frickin-tastic, and I don't want to stop working on it. I really don't. I want to keep going. What do you think, Thinker? Or anybody on here, what do you think? What does it look like? What's weird about it? What needs to be fixed? Just talking about the head of the tiger. Think of anything. Working on figuring out this area would be the next thing I work on, right? Maybe some mid-tone shadows. The cheeks need to be much lighter. Oh, okay. So what I mainly hear from you is there two? Oh, okay. Mid-tone shadows. So maybe a little bit too much contrast in the dark areas, and then, yeah, the cheeks lighter, bringing these cheeks out on both sides. I can see that. Let's do this. Yeah, let's do both. I'm gonna grab that lighter tone. I'm actually going to saturate it a little bit more for this left side. I'm actually going to go over a couple of these stripes. Very subtle here. Jump into up here as well. Really using kind of like the glazing idea for this brush. I can even take my opacity down a bit. I'll go over a bit of this darker, because that stripe is really dark right there. Going with the form, I hope you can see this, that I'm going, you know, with the form. I'm always trying to describe the form. It's one of those things where what I'm doing here is working with a larger brush to lighten up an area, add in, you know, a bit more of that texture, and then we can always come back with detail to darken up again if we need to. Maybe lighten it up here a bit more too. Okay, so that got a kind of a general lightness. Let's bring the saturation down and go a little bit higher. Bring a lot of that light down into the muzzle as well. I don't want to do too much with the same color also. So we can bring like a more intense kind of orange in these places too. That will lighten it up and add more interest as well. Kind of two at once. All right, where are we at on that? Oops. Yeah, that really brought these areas out, didn't it? I'm going to stay way back here so I can't even look at the detail. Looking at my older tiger here, the one on the bottom. Now remember, we have a different lighting scenario. We're not lighting this tiger. We're not repeating this image on the right. So we always have to keep that in mind. The light is coming from directly from the top. We want those deeper shadows in the right places, I will say. So I do want to make sure that the eyes are sunk into a shadow, because we have the forehead that is casting that shadow. But the eye socket is going to grab a lot of that. The bridge of the nose, except for in the central area, will grab a lot of that. I can even lighten up here. I'm having a lot of fun with this texture. And then, yeah, it gets really dark in here. Getting some of those tones, these values lightened up a bit could be helpful. Now, I've just focused so far on the black stripes area, like these darker stripes, which it looks like that they're kind of like voids of nothing. But that's what a photograph will do. When you photograph anything, if it has deep shadows, it goes just straight to black. Like the blacks are crushed, right? So where we bring that up in is getting like a grayish orange at first, and we'll work to green. A marathon session, no work today. Oh gosh. Have to be careful. Oh, it is. Oh my goodness, it's past 6. Holy crap. Hold on. A couple things I need to do. I'll back up and try this. This is going to be this like an attempt before I go. The crazy awesome old tiger beard. We're gonna put some of these lighter areas in real quick. And probably lighten up some of that. Let's go just a bit lighter. Okay. Yeah, that's good. I think we're good for the day. We're more than good. We're way over. I'm way over time. I'm going to be rushed to get some breakfast and actually get to work on time because I have to start in about 40 minutes, less than 40 minutes. Got to get my exercise in for the morning as well. Okay, thanks guys for the input. Thanks for joining me on my traditional and to digital live stream. I can't wait to get into the traditional part. Yeah, this is looking fantastic. Fan-freaking-tastic. How could we ever do a bad oil painting once we work it up this just fantastic in a digital format? So we're going to have both a wonderful digital painting and a wonderful oil painting with this tiger, and I can't wait. It's looking really good. If you want any of the downloads, again, it's on my Gumroad. See the link in the description below. It'll actually take you to my website where you can purchase it there. We're up to 40 days. Today's 40 of, all of these files. Yeah, for $10. But if you want half off, use CB50 off. $5, and it continues to grow. Yeah, help me out as an artist, and really the purpose to help you. So if you find this helpful, if you want to watch or have the materials for everything I do on this live stream, yeah, there you go. Thanks for joining me, and I will see you tomorrow.